Hey, Paulus, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure, Daz. Thank you.
So, we're here to talk about your brand new show, What Would Victoria Do? And emphasis on the spelling would. So, tell me about the show.
Well, I've been touring another show celebrating Victoria's music for 6.5 years now, and there's 21 of her songs in that. And it's time to put that to bed and tell a new story. So this is like, I guess it's a companion piece more than a sequel, if I'm honest. And What Would Victoria Do comes, well, just after the 10th anniversary of her passing. We lost her in April. 10 years ago. And I guess what I wanted to explore was all the things that have happened since she passed that she never got to talk about or have an opinion of or tell a joke about, like air fryers. She never talked about them. The repair shop, Stacey Solomon. I'm fascinated to know what she'd think of a red light therapy mask. And that's where it all began.
So, for anyone that didn't see your last show, can you say a little bit about what that was about and then how this one does differ?
Yeah, absolutely. So Looking for My Friend is a two-hander. My piano player, Michael Ralston, who many people will know from hundreds of cabarets he's done over the years, but also he's the pianist for Fascinating Aida these days. So I share him with my idols, Dilly, Adele, and Liza. And so Looking for My Friend was a conversation and was supposed to be like, I'm Vic, he's Julie, and was all about celebrating the almost accidental polari of her catchphrases and her scripts that helped you, whether queer or not, helped you to find your friends in the 80s and the 90s and your tribe. And that's been a tremendous joy and a huge giggle and involved lots of really dodgy accents. But like Vic herself, it was time for me to start thinking about the idea of standing on stage alone, which I don't know. A lot of people might think, I thought that's what you've always done, but I've always had a partner or a on-stage musician or two or three, but actually being completely alone on stage is new. And I know it was important to her from when she was a little girl. So we started to think about that as a new way of presenting her songs and celebrating her music.
So, how long have you been working on this show for?
Um, I mean, in some ways, since the day Looking for My Friend opened 6.5 years ago, and in other ways, and much more realistic answer is I guess it's a year now. I'm on draft 16 of the script. I'm not sure I can edit any more out. I just keep staring at it, going, no, yeah. There's nothing left to cut.
And fittingly, you're playing it at the Victoria Wood Theatre, which is a newly named theatre. How's
Yeah.
that going to be like to be on that stage?
Oh, terrifying, but I'm really, really excited because the theatre was originally called the Old Laundry. It's up in Windermere. And Victoria was a patron of the theatre, and it's run by some friends of hers who are also members of the Victoria Wood Foundation, which, as I'm sure you can appreciate, is a delicate relationship for me. So it's really amazing that a couple of the members of the foundation who run this newly named Victoria Wood Theatre have gone, yeah, we'll have one of your shows. We want to see it. So I can't wait to meet Roger and Charlotte when I go all the way up to Windermere.
I mean, so you've been doing your show for 6.5 years, and so you get audiences every single time. Why do you think Victoria Wood's legacy is still felt all these years later that people just are desperate to come and get just a feel for her at one of your shows?
It's a really funny one because there's so much about her work now that is archaic. And unless you are a certain age, you won't know what um, Karamak was, or who Wincy Willis was, or any references to the poll tax, or a passing mention of John Major. But we do our best not to change the lyrics. We certainly did in Looking for My Friend. But in spite of that, if you cut through that, and something I read Julie Walters say in an interview once about Victoria, she said what she felt that Vic did best was to puncture the pomposity of daily life. I love that sentence. And I think we, on the surface of it, Vic looks like somebody who champions northern people, working class people, perhaps slightly overweight people, women more than men. I don't think any of that's actually true. I think she skewered the rich, the poor, the old, the ugly, the fat, the gay, and she was very equal opportunities when it came to taking the mick out of people. And I think that through line of just going, where's the pompous? Where's the lie? Where's the tosh here? Is something that endures, well, clearly it endures even 10 years after she's died.
Can you remember the moment when you first became aware of her, when you first fell in love with her?
Oh, yeah. No, I was 10. I was sitting on the sofa in Kent at home with my mother and my sister, and as seen on TV, would have come on the television. So my first vision of Victoria would be the beginning of a scene on TV. She would do a little stand-up routine straight to camera, and she would be in really massive boxy jackets with big shoulder pads, but they were men's jackets, they weren't women's. And a tie, like a leather tie, and a shirt with a completely different pattern to the jacket, and spiky hair. And I had spiky hair just like hers. I think if you saw someone on telly, a woman on telly like that now, you'd immediately go, "Oh, that's a queer person. She's making a comment about her sexuality." But actually, Victoria just didn't own any frocks. Every time she needed to wear a dress on telly, she asked Celia Imrie to borrow one, and she just wanted to wear what she wanted to wear, and that must have had a very big impact on 10-year-old me.
Where people say that everyone has their one diva they go to, with like Mariah, Whitney. Is yours Victoria Wood?
Oh, I share. Well, Vic shares that honor with a few other people. I've got my sort of rocky poppy music version of that. But
I thought you were going to say Cher. I thought you actually meant Cher as in. Fair enough. Cher's a good choice.
No, there's no bits of the original Cher left. So it's a bit like Trigger's broom on Only Fools and Horses.
Or Lassie, they just keep replacing her with another model.
Yeah, exactly. Push comes to shove, Vic will always be my choice and my go-to, definitely.
So do you feel, is there like a weight on you to be continuing her legacy on stage with your shows, like keeping her alive?
I'm trying really hard with this show to relax and enjoy it. There was a huge amount of pressure, and almost all of it came from me, when we embarked upon Looking for My Friend, to get it right. What I mean by that is not get a single word wrong, not get a single note wrong, not change anything, to honor the work, and also how impressive her delivery is. I think, but some people listen to a Victoria Wood song, oh, that was a funny little ditty, and you go, have you any idea how difficult that is to perform? And she's playing and singing. Michael would play the piano for me in Looking for My Friend, and I have backing tracks for what would Victoria do, which is going to be a really interesting thing to explore as well. So I put a lot of pressure on myself because I'd just come off telly being a judge of other singers, which also impacted the whole, oh God, be perfect. But, as Taylor Mack once said, perfection is for assholes. So we worry not about that as much.
Have you had any interactions with anyone that knew Victoria personally who's like seen your show or commented on what you're doing?
Yeah, loads. I mean, masses. I met about 20 people who claim to have gone to school with her. And they're a mixture of primary school. They call her Vicky, and I know as soon as they say Vicky, I go, that's a primary school friend, because no one would call her Vicky after primary. She definitely killed that off. And secondary school and university friends. I've met her brother. I've met from the telly. I've met Sue Devaney, Kate Robbins, Graham Seed, Deborah Grant, Mark Gatiss. They've all worked with her, all adore her. But the actual fans, the fans like me that have been loyal for 40 plus years, I think is honestly the biggest honor. And the most exciting people to meet are the 15-year-olds and the 20-year-olds who only know about her because of a TikTok trend from 5 years ago. And you go, oh yes, this really is keeping the legacy going, much more than this old queer singing a bunch of songs that died years ago. This is legacy, and that's very exciting to me.
So is the audience you're getting, does it surprise you at how diverse it is?
We discussed a long time about the idea of a sequel because we were like, has our audience all died? Has old age got them all? But actually, Yeah, when you see a kid at the merch stand after the show with their mum and they're 10, you're like, that was the age I was when I first saw a scene on TV. And I didn't understand a word she was talking about. I don't think this kid just understood the last hour and a half, but there's something in the musicality, in the phrasing, in the bouncy upbeatness of her work that I try and emulate, which must speak to somebody even if they don't know what the poll tax is or what a bourbon is or a Garibaldi or whatever, you know.
So, anyone coming to your new show, what can they expect from it?
You can't expect to hear Let's Do It because I did Let's Do It in Looking for My Friend and I'm not doing it again. You will have to scream the house down at the end for an encore to get Let's Do It. But there are 12 other songs. And so in many ways, what Would Victoria Do is like a B-sides album. And I did think when I started exploring the idea of doing it, I was like, have we got enough? Are we going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel? But no, not in the slightest. I've barely touched the surface, to be honest with you. I could do 2 more shows. And I might do. Um, there's in this one we've got songs from her musicals we didn't touch that day we sang or Acorn Antiques in the first show. We've got Easter eggs that I only discovered halfway through the development of the show. I know I've got some mad fans that have come to see me who are like, have you ever heard of a song about a hairdressing salon? I'm like, it's in the sequel, don't you worry. That's really nice to give the mega fans little Easter eggs to keep them excited is always a lovely thing to do. And I guess I'm exploring in between the songs, I'm exploring well, what can the community of women, predominantly women, can do for a person. Vic's work is set in hairdressing salons and keep fit classes and weight loss clubs and the queue at the post office or the WI. And as a little queer kid in the 80s, that's where I was welcomed when I wasn't welcomed anywhere else. Those were the doors that were open to me and chairs offered to me with old ladies, basically. And I've spent my whole life hanging out with old ladies. Because they said yes, they said there is a space for you, and they offered kindness in a world which was very unkind to a kid like me 40-ish years ago. So not to make it sound like it's a sad show, because it isn't. It's packed full of comedy songs, but I think Vic was very good at understanding that you need to have darkness in order to explore light, you know?
So, what would Victoria say if she saw this show?
Oh God only knows. Phone my lawyer. I don't know. Um, I've been told by lots of people, many, a couple of whom knew her very well, Sue Devaney from Ladies, and Victoria's ex executive assistant who worked for her for 30-ish years. And they both said something along the lines of Victoria would love this. She'd have loved it. And lots of other people say you've done her proud. And when, sometimes I come off stage and people say, you've just told my life story on stage. And there's always a poignancy to sharing this work and singing these songs, even though many of them are hilarious, because we miss her so much. And I know how much she means to people around the country, and I know how much she's missed. And that's all right. I'm very happy to facilitate a love-in for a missing friend. And I just hope I do it well enough to make people happy.
For anyone sitting on the fence, why should they get a ticket to see what would Victoria do?
You don't have to. Don't just get off the fence and go somewhere else. I don't care. I'm not going to beg. You know why? You know why you'd come to this show, because it will be stuffed full of wit and wisdom and heart, because Vic's work always was. And if you've got any interest in funny women, celebrating the northern powerhouse of this country, exploring the history of British comedy, or just wanting to learn about musical comedy and that very particular type of music and phrasing and stuff like that, then come and hear some funny songs.
Speaking of funny women, I've got to mention as well, your director is Sarah Louise Young, who is brilliant in herself as well.
Absolutely. She's also my best friend, and we've known each other a very, very long time. And Sarah Louise directed Looking for My Friend and is directing What Would Victoria Do? And the guidance from Sarah Louise is just unparalleled, really. A lot of people ask me how I would choose songs out of a raft of, I think it's 400 registered with PRS under Victoria's name. And with Sarah, it's always got to serve the story, you know? And there are loads of songs I wish I had sung in Looking for a Friend or could be singing in What Would Victoria Do, but it doesn't serve the story, so it can't go in. Doesn't have a place. And that's very hard some days, because some days that's the exact reason I wrote this show, because I wanted to put this song in. And finally it loses its place. But you're quite right. She is an absolute force of nature, and she'll be here for 2 days at the end of the week to do our final rehearsals and hand over to our technician.
So when can people come and see the show?
Well, previews actually start in July, which, as the time that we're speaking, is just a month away. A couple around the country in some village halls, but I'm at the Arches Lane Theatre in Battersea. I think this used to be the Turbine, didn't it? I haven't been yet. And I'm very glad to be going there for the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of July as previews. And tickets are from just £8 for those shows. But I'm really glad I'm going back there to where Battersea Power Station at Tube now is because I worked on a boat just down the road called the Battersea Barge for as a cabaret venue and as a cabaret promoter and performer. And I was there for at least 15 years, and lots of my audience and followers know me from the barge. So this summer is an opportunity to bundle back to Battersea and hang out near the barge, have an hour of comedy, and then get some summer drinks in us. So 24th, 23rd, 24th, 25th of July at the Arches.
That sounds great. So come and see the show.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll be doing it for the next 6.5 years as well, maybe.
Oh, God.